101.2 and URFM 103.7. Every couple of weeks, we trail through some of the things that are happening in the world of education, and we do that with the most refinedly dressed gentleman in all of the Hunter. His name is John Fischetti. He's our Professor of Education. John, firstly, survived the rain, making your way in. You don't even look like you've been rained on, so well done for that.
No, it's a really rainy period. Our sympathies to all our listeners who are really getting it right now. We're so sorry for everything that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely, and more rain to come over the next few days. All right, let's jump into the classroom, and a bit of chatter coming from the new opposition leader at the moment. And while we get to that specifics and how that may play out in a minute, you want to also draw the point, John, that education is something that there always seems to be a lot of chatter in the media about, and politically as well, which is kind of funny because we do talk about it every fortnight.
Yep.
But why is this so?
It's amazing, isn't it? You'd think as the federal election chatter dies down and we get ready for a state election, there'd be a period of silence here. We just came out of lockdowns, and teachers are our superheroes. They're the first responders, as our nurses, our doctors, our people who work in stores have done to keep us going in the last couple of years. So why is it there's so much criticism of schools and teachers is a really fair question. We know a fortnight ago, the Premier and the Education Minister in New South Wales introduced the early childhood scheme, and we talked with Sarah last time about that. Folks can go back and listen on the web and to that one. But it's really interesting that Dutton would come out now and be really going so hard that the shadow government is going to make education one of their cornerstone issues. A wonderful colleague at Sydney University, Nicole Mockler, who's associate professor there, has done some really kind of fascinating research to see how many articles have been written in the last 25 years about all the different disciplines, whether that be architecture or maths or nursing or any of the STEM areas. And it turns out that there's been 65,000 articles written in the last 25 years about schools and education, most of them negative about the quality of teachers and teaching. And just interesting concept to say that's about 63 articles a week for 25 years, twice as many as those other professions. So I think there's a couple of reasons. One, you might say it's because people are experts because everybody went to school. So everybody's got an opinion. The other is I think it's good news because most people realize that the number one issue facing the hunter is undereducation, because of the skill set changing for what it needs to be successful in the future. So the education of our children is actually a top issue. Sounds really good. It's just coming out very negative, isn't it?
Yeah, I just did my very schoolboy maths there. It works out about a couple of articles every single day. So pretty much somewhere, everybody is talking about it at somewhere. So somebody that's high in maths will probably tell me how I'm wrong. But look, I guess every one of us we go through school, so it's important. It is a springboard to life and where you end up, and so we need a good education. That is the issue, though, is what does make a good education, because everybody's got an opinion. Everyone has got their way of commentating on what that looks like, and then if we draw it back to the comments that were made by the now opposition federally, it is, well, we're not really happy with some of the things that are being taught and some of the things that are having there a perceived far left bias in school. But then you may have others that are saying, well, when we're going another way, that's not good either. So should we maybe be keeping these things politically out of schools altogether? Or is it the complete other end where we should be having a bit of everything?
Yeah, I think it's probably both. Some of it's just chatter because they have to have something they're for or against, and it helps to have something against because it makes the newspaper. But I think some of it is the reality of the debate of what's right for children is caught sort of in 20th and 21st century conversation. I don't think we're having a conversation about first-year doctors being weak, even though childhood obesity is increasing in Australia. It's interesting. I haven't heard anybody criticize medical schools, but they're criticizing teaching schools for first-year teachers. So it seems inconsistent because it just doesn't seem fair. But what I like is around New South Wales in the government, independent, and Catholic sector, there's a lot of choice for parents. So anybody listening today trying to figure out what to do on a rainy day with their school-age kids, if you are also thinking, is the school I have my child in right for them? There's a lot of opinion and a lot of philosophies. There's schools that are very traditionally academically driven, and they get a lot of support. There's others who are trying very new approaches that we've talked on this show for years about that are really moving forward to be very innovative. They're getting a lot of traction. So I think the good news out of this, except for the negative opinion of what's going on, is that parents actually have choice. But just like the cereal aisle at your local supermarket, that choice can get confusing. And therefore, I think it's up to we as educators, but parents to work with their schools to figure out. My favorite line that I have had ever is, should I go to that school or that school? Do you think you believe in what they call whole language, which is where you sort of invent spelling or do you believe in direct instruction and all these things? I haven't met your child yet. Mm-hmm. And I think we got to personalize education, so all those options may be just right. If it's good for children, it might be different versions of what's available, but will parents have the power in their own knowledge base of what to do? But I want to empower everyone out there to be able to choose the school that's right for your child and not be shy to investigate that and go for it.
Yeah, and John, there are a lot of different options. Like you said, the entire independent sector, there's Catholic schools, there's schools that specialise in this thing or that thing or the other. And a lot of folks that will have that choice economically for them, but there'll be a whole lot of people that will be like, well, no, I don't have that as an option. Or you know what, the local primary school is 2 feet up the road and that's where the kids are going. So how do we make sure that the school that is available and there for everybody as their default first choice is covering a lot of those things, talking about making sure the education is individualised, personalised, and we keep a lot of the political ideology out of the classroom where it doesn't belong anyway. So I guess we're all the way back to where we started, is like what does make a good education.
So I think the first thing is there really aren't bad choices, because I think every school's really good around this region. I think we undervalue the quality of the teaching, the teachers, and the effectiveness of the school itself. But each flavor of school might work differently for your child. So it's knowing your child and where it fits. When it comes down to it, though, Mark, it doesn't matter the name on the school on the outside. It matters the teacher your child has, their ability to form that relationship and motivate your child. So if that's going well, just stay right where you are. If it's not, it could be as simple as asking for a change of teacher or a knowledge of that teacher to know your child better. I also think it comes down to figuring out in our teacher education programs how all teachers have a toolkit which doesn't have a hammer. And you know the rule is if for some people, if you have a hammer, everything's a nail. Well, maybe that child doesn't learn that they need to be hit with that hammer. They might need a crayon, or they might need a different metaphor that I'm not going to come up with right now. So I think we need to prepare people that work with children differently, no matter what the school, because ideally we'd all choose the school closest to our home. We'd be able to walk there or bicycle there like in the mythical old days, and we wouldn't have to be rushing around on buses and cars all over the place. In the market we're in now, I see that only continuing because people think that brand is going to get me better for my child. Because the future is a little unknown. We're in an era where everything that isn't automated will be eventually, including you and me and what we do for a living. Not today, thank goodness. But in that sense, it's a little scary. So parents want what's right for the child now, but they also want to protect that they can survive 30, 40 years from now as they're taking care of us in our old age. So in that sense, it's a fair conversation for parents to have, but I think it comes down to the quality of the teacher and teaching of that teacher with your child. If you're happy with it, don't let it go and buy them an apple. If it isn't going well, you might want to make a move.
And let's be honest, 30 or 40 years is so hard to predict. If you think 30 or 40 years ago from now, where we are today, quite a different landscape. As always, a pleasure. Our Professor of Education from the University of Newcastle, John Fischetti.
Thanks,
welcome.
Mark.
We'll send you back out into the rain, all right?
Thanks so much, Mark.
Only to return in a fortnight, right here at 2NURFM 103.7.
A broadcast service of the University of Newcastle.